The Middle East is no longer waiting for Washington to decide what the regional order should look like. That is the first thing we need to understand before discussing anything happening anywhere in the world. Welcome to Fourth Row Post English. The United States and Israel went to war with Iran expecting pressure to produce submission from Iran. Instead, Iran survived. The Strait of Hormuz became the center of the global energy crisis. American military power failed to deliver a clean political outcome. And Washington then eventually returned to negotiations. Even now, Iran is not negotiating directly with the United States, it is working with Oman over the new authority over the Strait, meaning monopoly over the Strait, meaning the death of petrodollar and the birth of petro-yuan. Although an arrangement for managing traffic through the Strait appears close, Tehran is still refusing to reopen it without the broader American concessions. And what are the broader American concessions? Lebanon, which is not an easy thing for at least Trump. See, what is Iran doing right now is not the behavior of the state negotiating from a defeat. It is the behavior of a state that knows time is working in its favor. Trump, on the other hand, needs settlement at all cost. Its own generals are now raising alarms about depreciating the missiles and radars. See, Israel and the Netanyahu, maybe not Israel, only the Netanyahu still benefits from the confrontation. The Arab states want security without another regional explosion, while Iran wants its power to be formally recognized. Now, these interests do not naturally meet. That is why I do not expect one grand solution suddenly to emerge. There may be an arrangement over the Strait because energy flows affect everyone, but Lebanon, Gaza, the Houthis, and Iran's wider regional network will remain connected to the unresolved question of Israel's ambitions. How long Israel is willing to curb its ambitions. This is the environment in which Saudi Arabia, Türkiye and Pakistan have signed the Mecca Joint Defense Agreement. An attack on one will be treated as an attack on all three. While Turkish officials have explicitly said that the agreement is not directed against Iran or any other particular country. Some people immediately called it as an anti-Iran alliance. I do not see it that way. Yes, it creates deterrence against Iran overreach because of Iran's ambitious regime, and because Iran is getting more powerful the day by day. But there is an almost no realistic scenario in which Pakistan or Turkey voluntarily fights a war against Iran merely to preserve someone else's regional dominance, such as Saudi. So the more important message in this defense pact is that Saudi Arabia is beginning to diversify away from complete dependence on American protection, which creates a window for Iran to step in this pact. See, that makes this pact the beginning of possible regional security architecture. Not yet Muslim NATO, but certainly a movement in that direction. Egypt may eventually become relevant in this bloc, but for now, General Sisi is confused because of moving Israeli security structure in the Middle East. See, Iran itself may one day be accommodated within the wider balances of this. The purpose would not to give anyone the state regional hegemony in this bloc. It would be to create enough collective deterrence that neither Iran nor Israel or Saudi Arabia could dictate the region's future alone. And Pakistan has a value in this emerging order. But we must understand where that value comes from. That value does not come from one prime minister, one field marshal, or one clever photograph in Mecca. Pakistan matters because of its defense capability, its relationships with China, its access to Iran, and its historical relationship with Saudi Arabia. And most importantly, its ability to remain sufficiently neutral to speak to competing sides. That neutrality in this whole war is the asset, was the asset. And here lies the contradiction. Pakistan's present power structure desperately needs money and new regional or the international guarantees. But if those guarantees require Pakistan to become a party in Saudi-Iran confrontation somewhere, or an American project against China, or some Houthis or regional adventure, then Pakistan will destroy the very neutrality that has created its present relevance. We may receive $1 or $2 billion in the aid. We may secure another deposit for a while, another deferred payments facility, or another temporary financial cylinder. But a country cannot survive permanently by replacing one oxygen cylinder after another while the main supply line is running out. And what is the main supply line? What did I begin with? American order is moving in this whole region. Strategic relevance belongs to the Pakistan. Financial desperation belongs to the system ruling Pakistan right now. The two should not be confused. Even the political environment in the United States is becoming less reliable for the old power structures in the world. That's what I said. You saw the Abdul al-Said's victory in Michigan's Democratic Senate primary. Despite more than $30 million in APEC linked spending behind his opponent. I don't know the name of that woman, I'm not sure. But see, this does not mean that American establishment has changed overnight, has distanced itself from Israel, but it does show that the unconditional support for Israel and unlimited foreign military assistance are becoming contestable electoral issues. So if your political arrangement depends on Arab money and Arab security, depends on the Washington, while Washington itself is entering a serious internal argument over the external infrastructure like Israel, like foreign assistance, like human rights issues, then what exactly is Pakistan's long-term guarantee here? This is where Pakistan's domestic confusion begins to make sense. We are being told that the present system has collapsed, said by the Mohsin Naqvi, the interior minister of the Pakistan and very close person to the field marshal, the most important person in Pakistan. And Pakistan now requires a new administrative reset. More provinces, to be specific. Stronger, not the stronger local governments, but more provinces. Mohsin Naqvi publicly acknowledged that the system was no longer working and will never work, and asked the political parties to settle the questions, including the creation of new provinces. But if this were a genuine program of administrative reform, why was it announced in this manner by some senator? Why create a political panic before creating political consensus over these type of issues? Why give political parties a task that everyone knows they cannot perform? Changing provincial boundaries is not a minor administrative notification. Article 239 requires constitutional amendment affecting a province's limits to be approved by at least two-thirds majority of that province. Neither Nawaz Sharif nor Asif Ali Zardari will be able to agree to break Punjab or Sindh merely because someone has files on those politicians or someone has this wild idea. No, they will not. Pakistan People's Party cannot surrender Sindh or Karachi and expect to remain Pakistan People's Party. Pakistan Muslim League Noon cannot divide its own Punjab power base on someone's command and expect to remain PMLN then. And even if Imran Khan supported these additional provinces in some earlier political environment where he was close to establishment, nobody knows what Imran Khan, who eventually emerges from this 3-year imprisonment, will accept today or not. That is why I do not believe this debate is really about promises. It is a distraction. But even a distraction must have a purpose, right? And that purpose is to buy time. See, we are hearing that 6-month period in which the system will supposedly be redesigned. But 6 months is not a decision. It is a postponement of the decision. When uncertainty is already increasing every day, adding another 6 months of uncertainty does not stabilize anything. It tells the government that it may not survive. It tells the political parties to search for the new alliances. It tells the bureaucrats and the institutions to protect themselves. It tells the investors to go away or wait. And it tells the public that nobody at the top knows anything what they are doing or what will come next, because they are talking about new provinces, which is entirely new. I don't know how they came up with this idea. The real deadline is therefore not for the government. It is for the power structure behind the government. Can it find a new financial pipeline and external guarantees? Can it legally preserve the hybrid arrangement? Can it bring forward a new team of obedient faces? Can it acquire constitutional cover for a role everyone already knows it exercises? Or will it finally have to change its own thinking? The proposed provincial reset is useful because it gives Nawaz, Sharif and Zardari a task they cannot accept. Their refusal can then be presented as another failure by this political class, creating an excuse to search for the new leadership. But we have seen the new leadership factory before. Every controlled local government experiment produces another generation of electables and loyalists. They acquire offices, ministries, television programs, but governance does not improve because the relationship between power and public accountability remains unchanged. Pakistan's problem is not that it lacks institutions, it lacks districts, it lacks laws or the administrators. Its problem is that rulers do not fear voters because they depend upon the forces other than voters for their survival. Divide one corrupt arrangement. Imagine, divide one corrupt arrangement into 4 smaller corrupt arrangements. What exactly have you reformed? If the managers are incompetent, the accounts manipulated, and the board appointed through favoritism, cutting the company into 4 pieces does not make it profitable. Real devolution is much simpler. Make the constitution genuinely supreme. Require local government elections after a fixed constitutional interval. Give a constitutional cover to the term of the local government. Give a constitutional cover to the Provincial Finance Commission as you give to the National Finance Commission. Allow provinces to design their own local government structures and then conduct honest election and let political competition produce new leadership naturally. Article 140A already obliges provinces to establish local governments, while Election Commission is constitutionally responsible for conducting their elections. The missing element is not another speech about the governance. It is enforceability, regularity, financial devolution, and the willingness to let elected institutions operate without manipulation. But that solution creates a problem for the present system. Genuine local government and fair election produce politicians who answer to citizens, not wait for the institutions. So instead of devolution, we are likely to be offered centralization disguised as devolution. Federal control over local money, federal authority over Karachi, new administrative units controlled by the federal, and new offices for the obviously fresh collection of the loyalists. Meanwhile, the political bolts are already loosening. Bilawal Bhutto's TikTok warning to Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz was not childish because of the timing. It reflected the real rupture following the Azad Kashmir elections and many other things, such as appointment of DGISI. Pakistan People's Party may not immediately join a march in Islamabad, but it is searching for a leverage. Nawaz Sharif's response matters because any attempt to divide Punjab touches the center of the both PMLN's politics and establishment's own power structure. So after the failure of 4 years, I don't think so they are strong enough to break Punjab. It's very basic. Punjab is the power center for establishment and they are not strong enough to break the power center of establishment right now. Even if you see, PTI is also preparing another protest phase. Maulana is roaring, Maulana Fazl Rahman, while the rumors of movement towards Khan are also circulating. If Khan is eventually released, I would not automatically interpret it as a deal. It may instead mean that the establishment accepted the need to reduce pressure and search for the political exit. After 3 years in prisons, why would Khan provide a safe passage to the same arrangement at the cost of his own politics? I don't think so. See, all of these are combining. I mean, look at Azad Kashmir. It also shows that why time is running out for the system. Pakistan at one point is condemning curfews, communication controls and managed representation and media restrictions in the Indian administrated Kashmir. But it is now being accused of employing disturbingly similar methods of its own side. The dispute over the 12 refugee seats has become connected to the question of representation, violence and electoral legitimacy. Instead of reducing the pressure, the government has introduced new rules. New rules requiring foreign media to obtain permission before reporting outside Islamabad, Lahore and Karachi. See, I don't know what we are doing. GSP plus status is going to be revised in 2027 January. I don't know what they have in mind. American new Congress is coming, which may come with the new rhetoric of the human rights law. May, because they are going against the all conventional American politics. And what we're doing in Azad Kashmir may not sit well as what Modi did in Azad Kashmir, because India possesses the economic and diplomatic leverage to absorb international criticism. Pakistan does not. Pakistan does not have that. Every restriction will attract more scrutiny. Every body will deepen the grievances and the dead body, obviously. And every attempt to hide the story will make the story larger. You cannot champion Kashmiri self-determination internationally while treating representation as a security threat domestically and calling them terrorists. So all these pressures are not separate stories. The Mecca Defense Pact, Iran's regional position, the changing American debate, Pakistan's financial desperation, the 6-month deadline, the province's distraction, Bilawal's warning, PTI's mobilization, Nawaz Sharif's silence, and the crisis in Azad Kashmir are all part of the same transition. The existing system has exhausted 4 years trying to establish itself. Now, after admitting failure, it wants permission to redesign the entire country under the same thinking. That is like mechanic who destroyed the engine demanding control of the whole automobile factory. I do not buy it. Either new external money arrives and the system attempts another dangerous experiment, such as what we just talked about, or that pipeline will not arrive. The money pipeline will not arrive. And then the thinking will have to change. The first path risks sacrificing Pakistan's neutrality, internal cohesion, and regional opportunity merely to extend a personal particular arrangement, the ruling arrangement. The second path requires a political settlement, constitutional supremacy and fair elections, and acceptance that no individual and no institution can permanently own the state. And if neither decision is taken, if we are simply given the 6 more months of chaos, threats, rumors and artificial debates, then uncertainty will not remain suspended. Everything being accumulated will eventually converge. And at that point, Pakistan will not experience an administrative reset. It will experience an accident.